Welcome to the SeizeYourBusiness.com podcast. My name is Kevin O'Flaherty from O'Flaherty Law, and I'm joined today, as always, by my co-host Jim Wazak from Success Enhancement.
Hello.
And our guest today, our first three-peat guest, because his other podcast episodes we did were really content-rich and good, is Troy Golden from Golden Group Real Estate. And our topic today is going to be choosing a location for your business. The past two episodes that we did with Troy, we talked more about sales and a sales perspective, how to find clients. Now we're going to talk about what he actually does for a living and have him give us some advice, because he's a commercial real estate broker, on how to choose a location. So thanks for being here for the third time, Troy.
Troy, thank you. So, Troy, let me start out with this question. You know, people, when you talk about real estate, they always talk about the three most important things are location, location, location. And I think that's usually meant from a investment or long-term price appreciation standpoint, but I think in a business it's even probably more important, because you want to be close to your customers or your workforce or whatever. What do you think are some of the issues a person should think about when they're picking a location for their business?
That's a good question.
That's what we ask it. We don't ask any questions here, you know.
Something that one of the questions that sometimes new business owners will ask me is about property type, because some businesses can be located in a retail or office location. A accountant, for example, or chiropractor could be located in a strip center or in an office building. Retail is obviously much more expensive than office space, but you have the added advantage of walk-in traffic. So the user has to basically make a calculation of what the value is of walk-in traffic. And what it comes down to is something like this. Does your business model perform such that you upsell the guy who walks in to the door? If the guy who walks into the door comes in for one thing and then you end up selling him much more than he came in for, then retail usually makes a lot of sense, because you need people who weren't planning on going to see you. They can come in for something small and then they become regular recurring clients. Those types of people might make sense to pay a lot of money for rent. But if people, they go in for one thing and that's all that they buy while they're there, then you don't want to pay, and you don't want to pay that much for walk-in traffic. So just being in a nice office makes more sense. Then in terms of location, you want to think about just general questions like suburbs versus city, which submarket you want to be in Chicagoland, how much you want to pay or what you get value out of. Do you want to be in a Class A building? If you're bringing clients into your space, is the office part of your brand? So maybe you should pay to be in a nice building, because that's kind of like paying for advertising in a sense. But if you are only having mostly employees in your office building, it doesn't really make sense to advertise to your employees. So why be in a Class A office building? Even if you can afford it, it just doesn't make sense. I move people from Class A to Class B buildings all the time because they discovered that they're just advertising to their employees. And sometimes in certain job markets that might make sense, but in a job market like this one, it really doesn't. There's other considerations like where are your employees, where the owner is. Certain companies for a while were going downtown to attract the best talent, but that trend has tended to lessen and actually reverse somewhat. And then obviously there's price is usually a concern for almost everyone in all business cycles.
So let's kill two birds with one stone here, because I was actually going to give you a call earlier today to talk about opening up a second office for myself, and we were talking about this offline earlier, but it's become more urgent because we've hired recently and we're just running out of space. And the stuff we talked about earlier about doing it in conjunction with a networking group, Troy and I were working out a plan to put a group of people together and in an office share situation and all kind of network in a town and try to all together get known in that town. I still want to do that, but right now I actually need some more office space for people. And my thought is, rather than pay more at my current location for more space there, think about getting a second location, plug some of the people that need office space to work in that location and have a second spot to be found on Google and a second, geographical space to cover. So if I would have called you today and say, all right, Troy, I'm ready to move on this pretty soon. I don't know anything about how to look for demographics or figure out what or where to go. What would your response have been? And maybe I can, like I said, kill two birds with one stone and get some advice I need while doing a podcast with you.
So it sounds like the reason you're opening up a second office is to increase the number of people because I know a little bit about your business. You like to be the local attorney, mm-hmm. So when people search for Downers Grove attorney, your website pops up right away.
Yeah, and that's really the impetus, because we got to the top of the Google rankings for Downers Grove attorney in all of our practice areas. If you search Downers Grove estate planning attorney, last time I checked, we were number one. So that there's nowhere upward to go working on that. Now I need to find another town to duplicate that in.
And I'm not an SEO expert, but it sounds like you believe that by having a Naperville location, or whatever, mm-hmm. fill in the blank location, your SEO efforts to become Naperville or fill in the blank attorney will be amplified. Is that correct?
Right. I'd have a second website, basically scaling what I did with the first one, and have that website focused on Naperville. So when someone in Naperville searches Naperville, divorce attorney, my name will come up the same way, and I imagine that'll expose me to a whole different pool of people.
Is the address more of a phantom address just for the website, or does it serve a real estate function in terms of housing your employees?
We would need a small reception area and a small conference room. So it doesn't have to be like our current office with a lot of workspace. We could just put one receptionist there. If we could find a place that was affordable that had a little work area too, that would be fine. But we could even plug an attorney in there just to work in the conference room when they're not meeting with clients. So the idea would be not even a full conference. Our current conference room has a big conference table where we can take depositions. We could have an attorney's desk, a 10 by 10 office. Right. Fronted by a small reception area.
Well, you know what? Before our guest answers, I'm going to chime in because I had an interesting thought. If what you're trying to accomplish is to have a physical presence in other communities, what about these, Regis type offices where you pay a certain fee and you could use any one of their offices and they're all over? Then you can have multiple offices kind of for the price of one office. Does that?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I don't know if it works if there's a penalty in terms of SEO for that, but
I wouldn't know. I'd have to look into that.
There's a Regis. It has a program where you can essentially buy a mailing address, and really just a mailing address, and then you can rent the conference room just when you use it, and you can use their receptionist services as well. The only potential downside might be that for meeting your clients there, Regis spaces are really nice, but I'm not sure if as an attorney you would want to bring your clients there because
people would know it's a Regis office.
People know it's not really. It doesn't. it might not be great for your brand.
And I really do like, part of my brand is I've got this big sign on the corner of Main Street and the train tracks in Downers Grove, and that's really helped keep me visible in the community. So, one of the things that I would talk to you about is, and you kind of covered it initially, is, how important is that storefront signage, even if it's on the second floor like we are now, and if I'm going to do that, how important is it to be in the, downtown of a community versus get, a retail space, somewhere off the main drag?
For just knowing kind of your business model, and Regis would probably be cheaper, but I would look for something pretty small, but good enough to bring clients in.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That you can put a big sign in front of. And then,
the sign will be as big as the conference room.
Exactly. And then, just try to get as short of a lease as possible, because you're going to hope to expand out of it relatively soon, and you also want to limit your risk exposure.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a bit of work finding that space, but
so it's deciding on I assume the first step would be narrowing down a couple towns that I'd want to open up in, and then seeing what's available in those towns, and how would I go about doing that? Is that something that you help with, or do I kind of bring to you some demographic research that I've done on my own and say, all right, these are the towns in the area that I know I want to go into. You find me the best price and the best location in one of these towns, and I'll take it.
Well, I can obviously help with the real estate side, and then I can certainly consult with the business side, because I can tell you certain things like, well, Naperville is more expensive than Lombard,
mm-hmm.
the office rents, and just being in the market, you learn certain things like, well, Naperville is a lot bigger. There's a lot more office tenants than Darien, which you would know
sure.
anyway. But and as a B2B or firm, and you do B2C also, mm-hmm. but certain towns, certain areas might just make more sense than others. But for most of my clients, they have to make most, if not all, of the internal business decisions before I can help with the real estate side, because they might be dealing with really kind of technical mm-hmm. aspects.
So once they choose the general area, you could help them find a site, but you're probably not going to help them choose if it should be area A or B.
Yeah, I mean, I was just dealing with a client earlier today, and I know that they're a tech consulting company to other tech companies, but mm-hmm. I don't know which tech companies they consult with or what exactly the consulting mm-hmm. is that they do. But I could tell them where the real estate or what office space was the best fit mm-hmm. for them. So mm-hmm. I could, certainly help you in finding the best.
So I could come to you and I could say, listen, I want, let's draw a 5-mile radius around where my current office is, and somewhere in that ring, as close to the edge of that, or maybe as close to the edge of that radius as we can get. I want to find some affordable office space, and then that can narrow down your search, and you can bring me some selections, mm-hmm. and then I can based on those selections you give me and the pricing on that, I can say, well, this is the lowest price, but is it really in the best town demographically for mm-hmm. me to do business in?
Yeah.
And I think, though, one of the things, like for your situation to think about is, what's the value of having all the people in the same spot? To me,
that's something I've wrestled with real hard over the past.
I would feel like there's a lot of value to that, because Joe is working on some case and he can't think of another precedent case to cite, so he says to Sally next to him, "Hey Sally, what do you think of me?" You have all that camaraderie. Plus it's less lonely. I think if on the other hand you're going to have each attorney in his own office, almost like a franchise, so maybe then you do want to spread them out.
I've our office is, you guys remember the show West Wing, where everyone's always walking around talking quickly,
right,
passing papers with
really
everybody.
Like that show.
It's our office is like that in a 20 by 20 space.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of collaboration. So I am a little bit fearful of losing some of that by opening up a second location.
So the question I think then becomes, what is really your sort of intermediate term strategy? Not just what should you do today, but where do you envision yourself being in 5 years, and then see what's going to support that, and sort of start building that foundation today.
Sure.
And because I think the opposite example, where you definitely want a second location, is if more like a retail example. I mean, if you've got a successful hot dog hamburger place in Downers Grove, well, maybe it makes sense to build one in Darien, because people probably aren't going to come that far just to get a hamburger or a chiropractor.
And that's exactly the situation I've got. So there are some clients that'll go more than 5 miles for their attorney, but we're just like your dentist to some extent, where a lot of times they'll look in the 5 mile radius for an attorney that's close, and if it's past that, they won't want to go there. So there's whole markets that we're not able to reach by just having one location.
So then the question would be, how deeply have you penetrated your immediate market, and is there greater opportunity staying here where you already have some presence and leveraging that, or have you gotten your maximum market share here and you need to look in other areas?
And that's what spurred this. Was once I saw that we were number one on Google, for Downers Grove stuff. That's at least that's one aspect of marketing. There's all other things,
yeah.
But I'm pretty networked in the community too. So on several layers, we've penetrated. If people don't know about us in town, they're not trying. And so that's what kind of spurred this. Where before it was all about, hey, how do I get my website to rank higher? Well, now there's I'm not going to compete for Illinois attorney. That's impossible right now. So it's finding the next place I can compete to grow the business.
Are you? Where do you get most of your business from? Are people finding you on the web, or is it mostly word of mouth and referral?
Well, it used to be about 80% referral, 20% web. But the past year, since we started ranking higher, it's been about 50-50.
Okay.
So, and that isn't because referrals have shrunk; they've grown, but the web presence has just grown so much.
Because the other challenge to having a second location is then you need a second Kevin. You don't just need a run-of-the-mill attorney. You need that person who can get out in the community and build, your identity as you have.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to look at.
Yeah, and that's why we've been trying to put together a sales team for the past year.
Okay.
So I have a second Kevin. I've got a really good business development person, but I'd like to get a third and a fourth and a fifth. Scale up in every area. While maintaining the same.
Sure.
The difficulty comes in as you grow. Maintaining the same level of client service. Right. But I don't want to get too far afield on me personally. But if I'm coming to you with this, what does the process look like, and what are the next? So you said, all right, give me the parameters of the search, and then what happens?
Usually, someone, just to make it generic, someone will come to me and saying, I'm looking for office space, a new office, I'm relocating my office. I need about 2,500 square feet, and I want to be in, let's just say, Naperville, or within a 5 mile radius of X, their house. And I'll ask them questions like, characteristics of the actual suite. Things like the floor plan. How do you want the space to be laid out? Then characteristics of the property. What are some things you're looking for in terms of, do you need a lot of parking spaces? Just tell me how you'll operate out of the space. Is it just general office use, or is it, if it's some businesses have heavy traffic, so they'll need more parking, or there's just some places, if they're operating classes regularly out of the space, that'll be an issue for some landlords or medical office users. They have to be on the first floor. The building has to be ADA compatible. I just need to know things like that.
So basically, if somebody is unsure about what their needs are, they should probably contact you and request your worksheet where you have all these things spelled out and they can kind of check the boxes.
Well, they should contact me as soon as they are looking or thinking about looking, or that there's a problem with their current space. I can help them with a lease renewal, or let's just say even if there's non-expiration coming up, but there's just some problem with the existing real estate situation. Sometimes I can help out with that, with just a renegotiation of the existing lease.
Let me ask you this question. Let's assume I've got my successful chiropractic practice. It's growing. I need more room. And I'm going to move to a bigger space, but I'm not sure if I want to rent or buy. What advice would you give somebody to kind of with that decision process?
Well, there's advantages and disadvantages to both, and ultimately it just kind of depends on the personality or the preferences, I should say, of the individual. Leasing, I think most of my clients end up leasing or some of the advantages are that it's less, there's more flexibility, that it requires less capital up front, it requires less time, and therefore, particularly if you bill per hour, just less opportunity costs and just less stress, I would say. Being a landlord is not easy. Even if you hire vendors to do everything for you, it's very difficult or people, I don't think, appreciate.
Yeah, because I always thought that was just kind of the sweet life. You get your money rolling in from rent and paying property management, and you don't have to worry about anything. It sounds more difficult than that, huh?
People underestimate how difficult it is to be a landlord. The roof always needs to be replaced, or the parking lot needs to be repaved, and tenants, just like landlords are paying or whatever, being recorded, tenants are paying also. Your tenants won't pay rent on time. There's just more stuff to manage. You're basically buying a business, so now you're running two businesses, and you're taking time and money away from your primary business.
Sure.
That said, there are obvious advantages. Assuming everything goes well, your second business, the property, if it prospers, then can be a good thing. Now, if you buy, some people find that when they sell their property, when they want to sell their business and it's attached to property, that can make the sell the business easier and just more marketable.
Sure, there's a hard asset.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you an interesting story. A fella that I know, or you just haven't seen him in many years, but he opened up a classic Corvette dealership. He's going to do sales as well as service. And he opened it when the market was red hot, and he had it for about 3-4 years. It did okay. And then the market kind of cooled, so he decided to shut it down. And he never made a lot of money on the cars, but he made like a $500,000 profit when he sold the building.
Yeah.
So the building turned out to be the better deal for him.
That's funny.
So, Troy, do you have anything else to add about choosing the location before we let you go?
Sure. I would just recommend that everyone, if you're looking or thinking about looking for office space, or if you just have problems in your existing space, to consult with someone who specializes in commercial real estate, particularly tenant representation, and particularly in the property type in the market that you're in. Because
trying to do that on your own seems to me like going to court without a lawyer.
Exactly. It's exactly the same thing.
I wouldn't. When I started thinking about this, my first thought wasn't, "Hey, I'm going to try to figure this out on my own." It was, "I'm going to call Troy and see what he thinks."
Yeah. You end up wasting a lot of time, money, and it's just a lot more stressful. So.
And the landlord pays your fees, right?
That's correct.
Tenant doesn't. So it's not like they're saving any money by not using a broker.
No, it really just doesn't make any sense not to retain. someone when you're on the tenant side.
Well, Troy, how can people reach you if they need some real estate help?
Well, they can go to my website, Golden Group, CRE, or give me a call at 630-805-2463, or just contact you. I think most people listening to this will have your contact info.
And I'm about to give it to him again here pretty soon.
Yeah, let me just add this, a little bit of a plug here. You know, if you work with Troy, your results will certainly be golden.
That's right.
Jim, how can people reach you?
630-272-3895 is the best way. You could look at my website, improv-4-business. If you need help with your business or you need something fun, like an entertainer or comic, give me a call.
And if you need any legal help, we do just about everything. At O'Flaherty Law. My phone number is 630-324-6666, and you can download our iTunes audio files by finding us on iTunes, seizeyourbusiness.com, or check out the videos or the audio on our website, seizeyourbusiness.com, and we'll have Troy's information up there too. So thanks so much for listening, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.